Well, first of all, I'm Jack, Chief Operations Officer at Maman. So like the crucial part of my role and sort of in the business from an operational standpoint is to deliver process and systems which the team and the customer can follow. That is incredibly important. It's not easy to scale that at the same time, but however, your business is only as strong as the systems which support it. Good examples for you to sort of understand how we're sort of trying to change the business is we try and move at a lot of pace. To move at pace, you need to have a really good, robust systems behind you. So when I joined, I onboarded obviously as an employee, and I noticed straight away it was very clunky. We had a lot of issues from an onboarding perspective. So I thought to myself, if it's hard for me, what about an hourly employee? English is their second or third language. How are we going to support them with that? And so we've changed the way we onboard people through our systems, through Harry, which is like a scheduling tool. How we onboard people is it's much more systematized, it's more regimented, and that gives a better onboarding, which your initial experience is so important. Like just when you walk in a store, it's the same way. We've got to treat people with hospitality in the whole way, through the back of house, through the front of house, and obviously to our guests as well. And so operations is really hard. I think everyone who works in it, you're a little bit of everything. You're a generalist, which is in this day and age, sometimes it's frowned upon in a sort of a land of specialisms. But then, when you're in sort of the roles of like Gus, myself, and Ben, the founder and CEO, you kind of have to be a specialist generalist, where, you know what I mean? You have to be able to wear multiple hats and be a bit much of an expert at it at the same time. And I think, a part of it in these positions is around like not being worried when someone sort of comes into your turf, to be like, no, someone's here to support rather than to sort of cause a problem or what have you. But yeah, go back to the systems and the processes. So I worked for Gordon Ramsay for 5 years when I was younger in my career. And there was like two things that always sort of took away from it, right? And I remember when we opened in New York City, up in Midtown, in the London, I don't know what the name of the hotel is called now, but one of the key parts I remember him saying in one of the interviews was like, what do you do when you're not here? You think about scaling, and he's like, what do you mean? Like, same people who cook when I'm not here are cooking for you right now. That doesn't change. And so that's, you think about the systems we had to put in place and the people and the training methods to drive that sort of standards in. We opened in Paris, in Versailles, which is Palace of Versailles, which is where the treaty was signed to end one of the world wars. It was an amazing, amazing experience. To teach French people how to cook British food, that's a different kettle of fish. So that was very, very interesting experience, but you've got to think of all around, it's all systematized, it's a recipe, how you do it. And the hospitality business, while it's fun and it's interesting, actually should be quite boring at its core, because it's about repetition. It's about repetition for the guest. It's the same experience, it's the same product quality, and the same for our team as well. We want them to do the same thing every single time, because that's the hardest bit we find, right? It's the repetition for the team and making sure that they deliver the same guest experience, they deliver the same portion size, they deliver the same environment every day. That doesn't normally happen, and that's where we have to dig in and work out how we're going to sort of create systems which create processes. And then the other key thing, the bigger we are, the smaller we have to act, and the bigger the sort of the concentration on the details. And that's the hardest part, because the bigger the brand grows, the more robust the systems need to be, and the bigger you need to think about the individualism. The closer you are to the customer, the closer you are to your problems. And the closer you can be to sort of remediate issues and to see where issues are. You think about like McDonald's, right? Where did the Big Mac come from? It came from a franchisee who was talking to a customer. The customer told him you should do this. And the amount of information you can get from your people on the floor who are giving you the information of what's going on, or what should we change? How should we change this restaurant? What should we do? How should we change it? Where we are today, we used to do 7-day-a-week brunch service. Wasn't really working. Customers didn't really like it. We took on board the feedback. We changed it just to being 5 days a week counter service. And then on the weekend, we do brunch service as well. And that was, employee driven. They, providing us feedback, providing us information. And because, process and systems are only as good as the people who we, bring on board to sort of deliver them through. So there's all these sorts of things you always got to be thinking about from a, processes and systems perspective.